Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Take a slow breath, relax your mind, and let the world become quiet for a moment. Today, we travel far into history, more than 2,000 years ago. We will meet a young boy who dreamed about greatness. His name was Alexander. But at that time, no one called him Alexander the Great. He was simply a curious child. Alexander was born in the kingdom of Macedon in 356 BC. His father was King Philip II. King Philip was a strong warrior and a powerful ruler. He spent much of his time fighting battles and expanding his kingdom. Alexander's mother was Queen Olympias. She was a strong and mysterious woman. She believed her son was special. Some stories even say Alexander was chosen by the gods. From a young age, Alexander heard stories about heroes, stories about courage, stories about adventure. One hero fascinated him more than anyone else. The hero Achilles from the ancient Greek stories. Alexander loved this hero. He admired Achilles' bravery. He admired his strength. And in his heart, Alexander wanted to become a hero like him. But heroes are not born only through dreams. They are shaped by learning. When Alexander was 13 years old, his father made an important decision. He invited a famous philosopher to teach the young prince. This teacher was Aristotle. Aristotle was one of the greatest thinkers of the ancient world. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander learned many things. He studied philosophy. He studied science. He studied medicine. He studied literature and poetry. But Aristotle did not only teach knowledge, he taught Alexander how to ask questions, how to think deeply, how to understand the world. These lessons shaped the young prince's mind. And while Alexander studied books and ideas, he also trained as a warrior. He learned to ride horses. He practiced fighting with swords and spears. He trained with soldiers. One story from his youth became very famous. One day, a wild horse was brought to the palace. The horse was powerful and dangerous. No one could control it. The horse kicked and jumped wildly. Many soldiers tried to ride it, but everyone failed. Then young Alexander stepped forward. He noticed something others did not. The horse was afraid of its own shadow. So Alexander gently turned the horse toward the sun. Now the shadow disappeared. The horse became calm. Alexander slowly climbed onto its back, and for the first time, the horse obeyed. The horse's name was Bucephalus. From that day forward, Bucephalus became Alexander's loyal companion. King Philip watched this moment carefully, and he said something famous to his son. "My son, Macedon is too small for you. You must find a bigger kingdom." At that moment, Alexander's destiny began to grow. But life soon brought a great challenge. When Alexander was 20 years old, his father, King Philip, was suddenly killed. The young prince became king. Many people doubted him. They believed he was too young, too inexperienced. Some cities even rebelled against him. But Alexander moved quickly. He showed courage, he showed strength, and he proved that he was ready to lead. Now Alexander was king, but he did not want to rule only one kingdom. He had a dream much bigger than Macedon. He wanted to conquer the mighty Persian Empire. At that time, Persia was the largest empire in the world. It stretched across many lands, many languages, many cultures. Its king was Darius III. Most people believed Persia was too powerful to defeat, but Alexander believed something different. He believed courage and strategy could change history. In the year 334 BC, Alexander began his great campaign. He crossed the sea with his army. Thousands of soldiers followed him. They trusted their young king. Their first great battle happened near a river. The Persian army waited on the other side. The situation was dangerous. Crossing the river meant fighting uphill against a strong enemy. But Alexander attacked without fear. His soldiers followed him bravely, and in the end, they won. This victory gave Alexander confidence. Battle after battle followed. Alexander defeated powerful armies. He captured important cities. Soon he marched into Egypt. The Egyptians welcomed him as a hero. They even called him a god. In Egypt, Alexander founded a new city. He named it Alexandria. This city later became one of the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world. But Alexander's greatest challenge still waited ahead. The Persian king Darius gathered a massive army. The two forces met in a legendary battle, the Battle of Gaugamela. The Persian army was much larger, but Alexander used clever strategies. He attacked the center of the Persian line. He aimed directly for King Darius. Seeing Alexander charging toward him, Darius became afraid. He fled the battlefield. Without their king, the Persian army collapsed. Alexander had defeated the greatest empire of the ancient world. Now he controlled vast lands, from Greece to Egypt, from Persia to Central Asia. His empire became enormous. People across the world began calling him Alexander the Great. But success brought new challenges. Alexander continued marching east. He crossed deserts. He climbed mountains. He entered lands no Greek army had ever seen before. Finally, he reached India. There he fought one of his toughest battles, the Battle of the Hydaspes River. The enemy used war elephants, huge animals trained for battle. The fight was long and exhausting, but once again, Alexander's army won. However, his soldiers were tired. They had marched for many years. They missed their homes. They missed their families. When Alexander asked them to go farther into India, the soldiers refused. For the first time, Alexander faced a limit. Even the greatest leader must listen to his people. So Alexander finally agreed. It was time to return. The journey back was long and difficult. Alexander's army crossed harsh deserts. Many soldiers suffered from hunger and thirst, but slowly they returned west. Eventually, Alexander reached the great city of Babylon. Babylon was one of the most famous cities of the ancient world. Alexander planned many new projects. He dreamed about building roads and cities. He imagined connecting the entire world through trade and culture. But destiny had other plans. One evening, Alexander became very sick. At first, it seemed like a small illness, but day after day, his condition became worse. His generals gathered around him. His soldiers waited outside the palace. They worried about their king. Alexander was only 32 years old, still young, still full of dreams. But his strength slowly faded. According to some stories, Alexander could no longer speak. He simply looked at his soldiers one last time, and then, quietly, he died. The world was shocked. The greatest conqueror of the ancient world was gone. But his story did not end there. His empire spread ideas across continents. Greek culture mixed with Persian culture. Egyptian knowledge mixed with Asian traditions. This created a new era in history, an era of exchange, learning, and discovery. Historians call this the Hellenistic Age. Even today, thousands of years later, people still study Alexander's life. Some admire his courage. Some question his ambition. But almost everyone agrees on one thing. His story changed history. And perhaps the most beautiful lesson from Alexander's life is this: great journeys often begin with small dreams. Alexander was once just a curious boy listening to stories of heroes, but he believed he could do something extraordinary, and that belief carried him across the world. So, as we finish this story today, remember something simple. Dreams can be powerful. Curiosity can open doors. And sometimes a single life can change the course of history. Thank you for listening. Take a deep breath, relax your mind, and remember, your story is still being written.